Hello, everybody. Sorry for anybody who's watching this. So I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple things. Um, First off, I wanted to mention a new series that I just finished watching a couple days ago. It's called the Glendale Archives, and it's rather interesting. It's kind of uh man, it's videos that have been discovered um by a man who appears to be almost the only person alone in whatever world he's in. And like I said, I don't know if they're going for like the multi Earths theory in this series, but the thing that I find really interesting, well, two things that I find really interesting about this series. Number one, it's being archived. There's people who are, for some reason, that has not been stated as of yet, but for some reason um, they are uploading the videos, they are editing said videos, they are, you know, they are studying. And according to one of the comments that the archivist left, or the main gal, we've only seen one person so far, so I don't know if it's just one person working on this or if there's a team that's working on it. But she's like the face of the whatever, face of the team. They'd say, yeah, you can go online and be the voice, be the face, and we'll work on it in the background. Or if she's working completely by herself. Um but yeah, according to a comment she left on one of the videos, she is currently trying to figure out who, I'm going to call him the protagonist because we don't know his name as far as I'm aware. He's never given his name out on video and stuff, which leads to the other thing I find interesting is like all of he's recording like what he does on a daily basis. He's going out and looking to see if he can find other people. And one of the videos is him going to his childhood home. But the thing is, the way he talks on camera, it's like, well, who are you recording this for, number one? Because if you're the only person on this planet, in this world, except for a few other beings who he calls nesters, who can be very aggressive and almost kind of remind me of like feral people, like in 411 videos, where it's like, oh, this person was taken by somebody who lives in the woods, somebody who doesn't interact with society or whatever. But yeah, so basic premise, this guy is, as far as we know, he's alone in this world, whether it's our world, whether it's our Earth, or whether it's, like I said, a different Earth, different version, whatever. We don't know as right now. All we know is that this guy uploaded at least 4 videos onto this channel. And like I said, what I find really interesting is, number one, like, I can understand that he's looking for other people and that he's recording his footage in case somebody else finds it. But the thing that I find really interesting is in the videos. Also, spoiler alert, first off, if you don't want to hear this, skip ahead like 5 minutes or whatever. But also, go and watch, because it's very fascinating, in my opinion. May not be everybody's cup of tea, but I find it really interesting. I'm curious as to whether there's more videos that will show up, or whether the 4 we've gotten are the 4 are the only ones we're gonna get. But yeah, so basically, when this guy talks, and keep in mind, he's not like awkward, like, he talks like he's used to talking to people. And I have a theory that he was a chef or worked in a restaurant in the kitchen at some point before whatever happened and caused everybody else to either disappear, die, or turn into these nesters. But the way he talks like he says a lot of stuff about wanting to be alone, not wanting to be beholden to people, not liking being beholden to people. And there is, but like I said, like, he doesn't sound awkward. And then there's one video where, again, spoilers, he talks about being addicted to something, but we don't ever find out, or we haven't yet found out what he's addicted to. It's just something, and, he talks about how, his family and, people in his life would try to get him to give up his addiction, and then he was like, now that there's probably nobody else around, I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to give up my addiction. I don't want to give up this thing. And again, like I said, we don't know what the addiction is. We don't know. It could be anything. But here's the other thing. He seems very well put together. Yeah, he lives on his own. He's, he does a lot of travel, but he does love hiking. He walks everywhere. He doesn't have a car. So he, he walks a lot of places, and he walks for long distances. So he's in good shape. He's able to walk long distances. He doesn't have issues with walking. He doesn't, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't shown they need to stop and, like, take care of, he doesn't have to stop for, like, cravings. Although, like I said, we don't get to see everything. But there is also, I saw a theory left in one of the comments of one of the videos that some people think this guy manifested a world in which he could be alone. Like, he wanted to be alone so badly, and he wanted to be left alone, wanted to be able to do whatever he wanted to, that there's a thought that he woke up, or whatever, however it happened, that it manifested for him, that he basically somehow made it happen and made almost everyone disappear. And again, like I said, there are monsters in this with, like, nesters, but then there was another comment that said he talks like you would think a nester would talk. He talks about nesting. He talks about finding a place to stay and all that. And, like, the nesters, like, they have attacked him, but we don't see that on camera. But there is video where he's like, "The nesters found me" as a title. And so it's like, so he's going along and he's trying to avoid getting spotted by these nesters, by these people. I'm not entirely sure what they are. The one really close view we get, the one reminds me of the old way people used to portray the rake, where they would have the flesh-covered bodysuits on, and they would just be crawling around on their hands and knees and stuff. Kind of reminds me of that. So it's like the nesters, like, we don't get to see them. Like, the protagonist says that he's been attacked by them before and he's set up traps for them and all that, but then he kind of talks like you would think a nester would talk. He talks about finding a nest, finding some place to burrow into, and what he says about the nesters makes it sound like they're just seeking shelter, like they're wanting to come in. So there's also a potential theory going around that people think that these people, like, he's almost kind of broken from reality a bit, and that he thinks he's alone, and that these other nesters are just other people who are, like, maybe his family, maybe his friends, whatever, and they're trying to get him to come back, to rejoin society. They're trying to get him help, and he doesn't see it that way. But, like I said, I just find it interesting that he claims to want to be alone. He claims to be perfectly happy to not have people hassling him about his addiction, he can do what he wants. He doesn't have anybody telling him what to do. And yet, at least 2 or 3 of the current videos that we have show him going to places where he's known people were there in the past, and number 2, that he knows that he's actively looking for people. And also the fact that when he sits down and talks to the camera, it's like, number 1, who are you talking to? Who are you leaving this footage for? If you think you're the only one in the world. And number 2, who are you, who are you hoping finds this? And like I said, he doesn't act like a socially awkward person. He acts like a person who has no problems talking to people. He acts like a person who can just, in a couple of videos, he's just sitting in whatever house he's found shelter in, and he's he cooks, and he shows us, the audience, what he's cooking, and he talks us through it and everything. So he does sound like a socially awkward person, or like somebody who doesn't like people at all. It just sounds like someone who is maybe tired of being told what to do, which is perfectly honest. And, if that's the case, then, that's fine. But it kind of gives the lady doth protest too much to the situation. It kind of leaves the, I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, so we, as in those of us who are watching the series, are highly anticipating. We're waiting to see if we get anything further from this, from the archivist. And we're also curious because this archivist has said that they, I don't know, that they are, editing the videos. So it's like, what are we not being shown? It's kind of like, interesting. But yeah, so, but yeah, that's the series. Like I said, I just finished watching it just a little while ago, and highly hoping we get some more information. We might not. This might be the end of it, but I'm thinking we might get more. But yeah, but that leads me to my second topic of conversation, which is, I'm sure you guys have heard about the dead internet theory, and the fact that some people are saying that the internet is mainly bots and not real people, and stuff. And I have to admit, on my channel, I'm kind of starting to feel that a little bit. I know I've gotten comments from you guys, from my subscribers before, or maybe even people who aren't subscribed who just leave comments for whatever. And like I said, that's fine. But at the same time, it kind of, like, if I'm going to do this, if I just do this as a hobby, then that's fine. I'll just upload into the void and whatever. If people see it, they see it. But I do have to admit, I miss those times when I am able to interact with you guys, with people who watch my videos and stuff. And like I said, it happens every so often, like I'll get videos like I remember back before I moved here and I was working at Target, and I can't remember if I had quit or if I was planning on quitting or whatever, but I remember uploading a video and getting quite a few comments expressing encouragement and all that, and that really made me feel better because, made me feel like I wasn't alone, like other people had experienced similar, if not the exact thing that I had experienced. And so, yeah, it's I'm kind of struggling with that. I'm kind of struggling with the, and like I said, like I looked at my settings and I don't think I have anything that's like blocking people from being able to leave comments or anything, but I almost wonder if there is something like that. And then that leads me to maybe I'm in a part of the internet that is dead, that is kind of a void, that is, that there's nobody there, And that also kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember, quite a few years ago, there was a series called Hi, I'm Mary Mary, and it was about this gal who was trapped in a house, and she couldn't leave the house except to go to this garden occasionally. And she had these monsters, demons she would have to fight, and they ended up being part of her mind, part of her mental makeup and all that. And like, I really liked that series. I really liked participating in that, and I think she's coming out with another series. I think she's been working on it for a while. And I think this one is going to be more Cthulhu based, or at least kind of more like the 1900s, that kind of thing. But, and again, I don't know for sure. But, I know, but her name is Kay, and I know she was on Twitter or X, and she's on YouTube, and every once in a while she posts like behind the scenes of what she's working on and that kind of stuff. And she did a whole behind the scenes thing where she talked about Hi, I'm Mary Mary and all that, but it kind of reminds me of that almost, where it's like, because to start out with, she could get on the internet, but she could only see herself on the internet. Like, she couldn't see anybody else's posts. It was just like she was posting into the void and stuff. And sometimes it feels like that with me. Like I'm just talking into the void, or I'm just, you know. And like I said, sometimes it really helps. And like I will continue posting. I will continue posting gameplay. I will continue because it makes me happy. Because I enjoy it. But if I do have an audience, it would be nice to get a little bit of conversation going, because comments apparently are a very vital part to having a successful YouTube channel. And like if I ever want to have my channel be monetized, which would be nice, because then, like I said, I wouldn't have to necessarily worry about getting something working outside the home, even though I still might, because, like I said, I don't want to spend all day, every day in the flat by myself until Keith comes home, And like I said, I want to be able to meet people. I want to be able to get to know people and make friends and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm, like I said, I would like to be able to get this monetized to some degree. Or at least feel like I have people who are actually watching my videos and who are participating and all that. And I know a lot of times there's nothing to really participate in. I'm going to try to change that up, which is why I've tried uploading more gameplay. Because, like I said, if you guys want to interact with that, I would love that. I would love you guys to interact and be like, hey, try this, or with Scarlet Hollow, I want you guys to suggest me traits, because like I said, we might start a whole new playthrough, considering that the game developers have added and or changed things in past episodes. And I want to see if those changes influence what happens. But it would be nice to have you guys be able to say, hey, try Kenai, or have you tried Powerful Build with this, or have you, and like we can keep going with that. But I won't just upload like the same game each and every time. I'll try to break it up and like add Tiny Bookshop, add Gone Home, add one of the other games. Matter of fact, I'm trying to decide, because I still have $10 left on the gift card. I'm still trying to decide. And it's like hard, because it's like part of me wants to get Undertale, but the other part of me is like, number one, I've seen so many other people play it that I don't know if I'll get as good an experience with it. But then the other game that I want to download kind of reminds me a lot more of another game that I don't want to just have several games that are the same basic thing, you know. Like, I already have 3 games that are farming simulators, basically, and I don't want to add another one. Which is why I picked Chef RPG, because it's a restaurant simulator. It still, simulates things, but it's more of a running your own restaurant, and the farming is part of that, but it's in a small greenhouse, kind of like. And so, but yeah, and it would just be nice to be able to put up polls and to be able, like, if I can't decide between 2 or 3 games, it would be nice to be able to post up a poll or something and have you guys weigh in and say, yeah, I want to do this one, or why don't you try this one, or whatever. And like I said, I'm not gonna heavily rely on you guys. Like, I'm not gonna let you guys make all my decisions for me. But at the same time, I am going to. It just would be nice to get, like, a second or a third or a fourth opinion on certain things, like certain games or whatever. But yeah. So anyway, this is kind of a test. I'm going to see if I'm still talking into the void, or if some of you guys are out there. If you guys are, please leave me a comment. Let me know. Just, I don't know, just let me know you're there, I guess. And again, like, I worry that the subscribers I have, like, they're subscribers from, like, years ago, and they don't ever come back to the channel, but they just never unsubscribed or anything like that. I'm just curious, so help me out with this, if you wouldn't mind. But yeah, so that's basically all I have to say. Go check out the Glendale archives. It's only 4 videos, so like I said, you can either break it up or you can watch the whole thing. Also keep in mind they're not in order, apparently, according to the archivists again. But they're not in any particular order. So, just to let you guys know, that's going on. So, but yeah. So anyway, that's my challenge for you guys. Let me know you're there. Even if you just want to say here, like, I'm taking attendance or whatever. But, if you don't, you don't. But I will continue on as normal. But yeah, I'm just curious. So anyway, if you're out there, I hope you're having a great day. And I'll talk to you later.